Thank you for tuning in once again to his Vine and Fig Tree podcast. My name is Kurt Olson. I'm your host, coming to you on the afternoon of June 24th, 2026. Three quick things. We're going to start with the New York State primary and specifically events in New York City involving New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. Um, some context a little bit here. It begins with, of course, the mayor. He's Muslim. He's a communist. The man has basically sanctioned Muslims praying in Times Square despite mosques all over the city. He's done a variety of things. And he gave a speech last weekend in the lead up to the primary on Tuesday, and he said some variety of things that can be characterized as nothing short of anti-Semitism. And this is not new for this guy, but his rhetoric continues to play an interesting role in city politics. And that leads us to Van Jones. So, Van Jones, the former political advisor in various ways to former President Barack Obama, he's a contributor on CNN. And he is doing an interview with Caitlin Collins last night. And he says the following, basically a Cliff Note version of his interview. He said, the New York primary in New York City involving congressional candidates was a test of Mamdani's power. And he said if that the Democratic establishment, basically characterized by Charles Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Minority Leader, House Minority Leader, and if Mamdani went 3 for 3, it would set things in motion for uh, political power broking in the city. And Mamdani did go 3 for 3. So Daria Chevalier won, upset the incumbent in New York, the 13th Congressional District. Claire Valdez defeated an incumbent in the New York 7th Congressional District. And we also had Dan Goldman upset by Brad Lander. And things with Dan Goldman become important as well. So Dan Goldman is out in New York City. I'm assuming he's spending a fair amount of time in the lead up to the primary, and he's out with his daughter at one point, and they walk into a coffee house so that she can use the restroom. While he is there, treated nicely by the staff, and wants to do business with them, and this is Poetica Coffee House, or Poetica Coffee in Brooklyn. And they came to find out who the congressman was, Dan Goldman from Congressional District 10, and they promptly refunded his money and told him he could not come back and do business with them because he supports the Israeli genocide. And that, of course, is silly. There is no Israeli genocide of Palestinians. This continues to be left-wing narrative that is in search of reality, and it and the fact that Goldman lost just kind of underscores some things even more. And but Mamdani wasn't done. There was also a New York State Senate candidate who won by the name of Aber Kawas. She sports a hijab wherever she goes. She's pro-Palestinian, pro-Gaza, anti-Semitic, the whole nine yards. So there are some interesting things unfolding in New York State politics. And right now, it you have a situation where the Democratic Socialists of America have growing power after the election of Mamdani, and we'll see where this goes because we have a governor's race in November. Kathy Hochul against Bruce Blakeman. It will be interesting to see where that goes. Last time Lee Zeldin lost by 6%. Is Bruce Blakeman able to get over the finish line? I don't know. But while all of that was happening in New York City throughout the day and the evening, we had other news also involving socialists, communists in this country. A year ago on July 4th, there was a crime that unfolded at an ICE detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, about 42 miles southwest of Dallas. And there was a local police officer shot in the neck, and a variety of people were rounded up. If anyone follows Andy No on social media, they're aware of this story that was unfolding. And following the shooting of the police officer, one of this group that was part of this North Texas cell, as Andy No calls it, or Antifa cell, was on the lam and finally caught. So yesterday, this group was being sentenced. A group of 8, 10, 12 people, whatever it was. And the judge in Texas had a collective sentence of 430 years to this group. And it is the first sentence against Antifa in the United States of America, despite all of the Black Lives Matter drama and the rioting that unfolded in 2020. No one was prosecuted. To really no surprise, because a lot of the stuff that was happening in Portland, Seattle, and a few other places are run by prosecutors who let people go very quickly. So all of that was unfolding in the New York State primary. Now, transition to England. Last weekend, word came down that Keir Starmer, the prime minister of a couple years, right now, Britain is going through prime ministers kind of like candy. There was Liz Truss. She didn't survive very long. We've had Keir Starmer. We've had Boris Johnson as well. They just are not lasting long. And Keir Starmer announced that he was resigning, or there was speculation of that, and that did happen on Monday. And it's believed that Andy Burnham will succeed him, he of the Labour Party. And In the description to the podcast, I'm going to share a brief segment that Glenn Beck does with a guy from Britain. And this is going to provide some context of what's happening inside England right now, especially as it relates to Muslims and Muslim migration. And that leads us to the rape gang inquiry that unfolded for much of the year in England, and this was a 219-page document. I have not read it except for the executive summary, and the findings are dramatic. So, this is Member of Parliament Rupert Lowe who commissioned this investigation and issued a report. And we come to find out that since sometime in the 1950s, so we're talking 70 years now, where predominantly Pakistani Muslim men were targeting white British young females, and they would use alcohol, drugs, and a variety of other things to get these girls. And we're talking unspeakable crimes. Unspeakable crimes. And in some cases, murder. In some cases, trafficking to other countries. And the report reveals a minimum, conservatively, 250,000 young British females subject to these Muslim rape gangs, and that this happened over 149 jurisdictions in the country, and that when any of the victims or parents went to authorities, they were quickly shrugged off. And if anyone was caught or arrested, they were summarily let go. In fact, Keir Starmer was involved in some of that as well. And just an ugly scene that we're getting out of England right now. And here's the thing. Everybody knows that if that was white British men doing that for that period of time to blacks or Muslims or Asians or Hispanics, it would be the only thing that would be dominating British media right now. In fact, it would be dominating American media right now too. And the lack of curiosity of the British dominant media and the feminists in England and throughout Europe and even the United States is an indictment. These people don't care about kids. Why? Because they can't say anything bad about Muslims for fear of being called racist or Islamophobic. And this is something that stands to come to a head even here in the United States of America, as Zoria Mamdani and others gain attention in this country. And Muslims create this impression that they want to work with leftists to achieve common goals. And all the while, the only goal that Muslims seek is conquest of not just nations throughout Europe, including Western Europe, but here in the United States as well. And the politicians continue to ignore it to our peril. The last stop we're making is San Francisco, and specifically Major League Baseball. Now, earlier in June, because of course it's Pride Month, and thank God we have not had the attention brought to this perversion that we have in the past. But nonetheless, there are teams that still have Pride Night, and San Francisco had that very recently. And there were a handful of pitchers on the team who wrote verses on their Pride Night cap. Now, um, those pitchers were Landon Roop, JT Brubaker, and Ryan Walker. And after all of that happened, and baseball was threatening fines against the players, Senator Josh Hawley got involved. U.S. Senator Josh Hawley is from the state of Missouri. He compiled a letter, fired it off to Major League Baseball Commissioner Robert Manfred, and basically to the point of even saying, you either answer questions written, or you stand to be subpoenaed before Congress. And Manfred wrote a response last Friday. It became known over the weekend, and come to find out that Major League Baseball was backing down. No fines were going to be issued to the players. And it just brings up the broader issue here of what did these people think were going to happen in professional sports when you impose upon everybody something that everybody doesn't want to partake in, and in this case, LGBTQ. And the main verse that was written on the ball caps was in Genesis 9, where after the worldwide flood, where God destroys the world because of evil that spread worldwide, um, there's a promise given to Noah by way of a rainbow that it would not happen again. And of course, the alphabet mafia in the LGBTQ world have basically abducted the rainbow and used it for a sinful purpose. And there are efforts by folks to try to recapture it for the biblical mandate that exists. And but it just underscores just the broader issue here. What the NHL has had problems with this in the past. The NBA has had problems with this, and Black Lives Matter related stuff in the past as well. And what did they think was going to happen? I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. People do not want politics in their sports. And it's being thrust upon the World Cup right now in the United States simply because the world continues to ignore the plight of Iranians in over the past 5 months. And when Iran is playing, there are sun and lion flags in various statements related to the events of the past 5 months unfolding either outside the stadium or inside the stadium. And I suspect that as long as Iran is in the World Cup, that will continue. But that is all I have this week. I am dropping a column on Sunday involving patriotism as we are fast approaching the 250th uh, birthday of our great country. And I'm not going to give any more of a uh, teaser than that. Um, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If you like what you're reading in my columns, if you like what you're hearing on these podcasts, please share it. And you can also hit the like button and subscribe. And until next time, God bless and goodbye.